I'm Kristy.
And I'm Courtney. And this is Heard at the Bar.
I was going to do it in unison again, but I thought that would be just as too corny to do it every single time in unison. You know, one of the things that strikes me, I'm just going to go right into it.
Jump right in.
Right?
Jump right in.
No pause.
Yep.
As we get older, how much our social life struggles.
Yes.
That we get busy with work, and then, there's not a lot of time to maintain. Then heaven help you if you have a child or two, then you have even less time, and even more so. So you have kids, and then your social life then revolves around the children.
Yes.
Hopefully, they make friends with someone that you like.
Yeah, and then you can hang out with them.
So you can hang out with that family, right? Like, I think about my friends all have kids that played hockey all the way through. Both my girls played, but it just not long term.
It's a very Canadian thing.
Very Canadian thing. But they all, their free time, their weekends so often are taken up with going to hockey tournaments and things like that. And there's been a few times where a few of the moms haven't enjoyed the families that are on the team, right? And so then this is their social time, this is their time, and they're spending it with people who they don't really like. Get on. Because also Canadian culture is, my child's going to make the NHL.
Oh, everybody's child is going to be in an NHL.
And so stay out of my way and don't you get in the way of my child becoming famous in hockey.
Yeah.
But what I've really noticed here in the studio is that a lot of those who have stayed here throughout the years, because we're 10 years this year, a lot that have stayed with me, it has been even more so about the social aspect than even about the exercise sometimes. That there are many times that I've come into the class with an issue, something I'm trying to figure out, and I just put it out there, hey guys, what do you think about, or I'm trying to figure out, and inevitably someone in the class will have a solution to the problem. Or the people who come in with news, with it just overwhelms me sometimes when I think about how intimate a space like this can become, and the level of share that can happen in these situations. And then I think about those who maybe don't have a network to do that with, that don't have a friend network or an organization that they're involved with to get that feeling of connection. And I feel like more and more these days, that level of having somebody to connect to is becoming less and less with social media, with the way that everybody seems to be sticking to their own lane and not really pushing outside of that.
Yeah, and I know that I came to the studio, so not a hockey background with kids. Previous, yes. Yeah. Yes, I grew up in a hockey family. Yeah. But my kids are dancers. So I was a dancer. My kids are dancers. Yes, we did competitive dance. Same thing as hockey. You travel with those people. You're with those people. Because of that, I danced at the studio they danced at. Yeah. So there was a group of adults, and we did class together. We did ballet top jazz, did all those classes together. Well, then those classes started falling. The teachers weren't there, and then we didn't do it. So that's how we ended up at the studio. One of those adults that I danced with came here and was like, oh, you should totally come. Yeah. So then we all came. There was probably 6 or 7 of us that all started coming here. And then we started doing classes here. And then we realized it's such a social place that you would then see the same people, just like when we were taking dance classes. Right. It was great. You would know that if you came to the Wednesday 7:30 mat class or whatever, everybody would be there. Yeah. And you would be like, hey, how's it going? Just like dance classes were. Yeah. So, and then as the years go by, I don't even remember, was that 8 years ago maybe? I'm trying to think of how long it's been since I was here. I've been here probably about 8 years. Yeah. Then there's only 2 of us left. Yeah. Everybody else dropped off. Yeah. But one of the ladies and I we were talking on Monday about the fact that we used to go to the late class because of the social aspect, to see everybody, because it was so fun, and you'd catch up with everybody's life, and you would find out what was going on, and you would hear, oh, there's a new store. Oh, did you know that this store is offering this discount? Or, oh, hey, I just went to this restaurant. I really recommend this. So then it would be like a back and forth, and then people knew that I was gluten-free. So then they would be like, oh, hey, my friend just went to this gluten-free restaurant. You should try it. This is the meal I got there, and it was fabulous. Those types of things we used to do.
Well, you know, and I love the ones where, hey guys, because there'd be such a mix of ages. And ranges,
you're talking like university students up to fully retired.
To
all
80
of us
year
in the same
olds.
class.
20 to 80. Quite the range. And I know there was like a few times where people come in, and I'm experiencing this with my kid right now. And I don't quite know how to manage it. And then we'd inevitably talk about it and share our experiences, give our advice. And that person who came in feeling distraught and like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Left with some tools and a feeling of, and not something you would expect when you go to an exercise class. That you're going to walk out with something that's going to help you out.
And I think that we're seeing that we're lacking that personal connection. Like, because people have remote work now. People do Zoom meetings. And this was my thing when I was working, was the Zoom, you can't side talk. There's no, hey, how's your wife, or how's your husband? You know, did you go on that vacation you were going? You can't do that on Zoom. Are you going to text it? You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that. Normally, you would go and sit, and I would hear you talking about that.
I feel like if you were 10 years younger, you would be side texting those things.
Right? Yeah. But
is this an age thing that we're talking about?
Maybe, but you would overhear it. So, like, you would go into a meeting room, and you would overhear. You may not be friends with them, but you would hear that they went to this new studio and they did Pilates, and then you could be sitting there being like, oh, hey, where was that? I'd love, can you just write that down for me? Or you just got a new car. Oh, what color car did you get? But that's not something, if you can't overhear it anymore. So you can't even message them because you don't know they have it because you haven't had this conversation. So like, if you're working from home and you're not leaving your house, and you don't have an outlet or a social place, even if you're a social person, like I'm a huge social person, like I am very social. I need to talk to people face to face. I need my quiet time. But I also need face to face. I'm a touch person. I need hugs. I need that. Kind of, you know what I mean? And if you're sitting at home working on a computer all day, and then you're done and you're turning on the TV and watching TV, no one's there. Right? Like you don't have that connection. And even your kids, like once your kids are older, like my daughter's almost 18, my son's almost 21. They're not around me anymore. Right? So even my husband, he works at home sometimes. Like, so you're just sitting there being like, okay, so I come here. And I get my social aspect. You know what I mean?
When I say that one of the biggest compliments I got was this week was in the Mac class was it Mondays?
Was it Monday?
Class. One of the classes this week. One of my clients who's been around for a while, I hadn't seen her in a while. And so we're in the class and we got into, I can't even remember what we talked about. We're getting into, although that's what we're supposed to be talking about. What we heard at the bar.
What you heard at the bar.
But, you know, we laugh and we joke. And those who have been with me for a while like to tease me. And so there's that kind of, and she said, you know, I've been doing these workouts at home online and I've missed this. I forgot how nice this is. And, you know, it got me to start to think about that. Is that, okay, well, what is it that's changed in the studio that it hasn't been to that level? And I know, like, for me personally, I've had a lot over the past year that's gone on in my personal life. And that changes how I show up in the room. And I think a lot of it is my responsibility that even when a class was quiet, nothing was going on, there was nothing to talk about. I would start telling a story.
You would,
about something. And I'm realizing I haven't been telling stories. I haven't been talking about things because oftentimes the things I would talk about was what was going on in my personal life. And that would kind of break the ice for people to feel.
And then everyone else would add in things.
Exactly. And then it would make somebody else feel comfortable to share something that's going on in their life. And so it's a shame. I hadn't realized how far away from that we had gotten. And so now trying to get back to, this is the beauty of in person.
Yes.
I always feel like we're doing an advertisement for the studio.
No, because I don't think we are, because we're not talking about what we teach here.
Right, that's true.
We haven't talked about any of the classes or what we do. More just, this is heard at the bar.
Right.
Things that you hear at the bar.
Yeah, so then now the big debate and the big focus is, how do we get back to that feeling of the safe place where you can come and talk? You know, we have people from so many different levels of education, so many different focuses of what they, like, professional workload. And what I've always loved is that, you know, I've got a lot of type A personalities that come here.
Yes.
And there is no bigger compliment than when they come in the door and they're like, what class is this? What did I sign up for?
Yeah.
That they're just completely secure in what they are coming for, they will get.
Yeah.
What they walk in the door, they're going to enjoy. It doesn't matter what it is. They're coming for the time slot. They're coming for the experience.
Yeah.
That nothing else matters. And how amazing that is. And I feel like we've kind of lost that a little bit.
Yes.
In the last little while. And so then now it's that, we're gonna cut that. There we go. So then how do we get back to that grassroots, what it was that made us a special place to be? You know, part of it was we had the couch out in the main area. We had, the door was unlocked.
The door was always unlocked. You could come early. And I remember I used to come maybe half an hour early, 20 minutes early, and I'd sit on the couch.
Yeah.
And then the girls were in the class. So if I couldn't get into that class and I was in a later class, I would just come and I would chat. And they would chat. We would chat while we're sitting. Yeah, you guys were finishing the class. Yeah. I'd sit on the couch and we'd just chat.
Yeah.
And like, I would talk about the kids, like Ian's auditions, things like that. And so then whenever I would come in the studio, someone would be like, oh, Courtney, how did the audition go?
Yeah.
How did this go? Yeah. Like, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that you would also see someone else and be like, oh my God, did your house close? Remember, was it you selling? Yeah, when you were selling your house and you were doing the whole like sagey thing, and we were talking about it, and then wasn't there some sort of a statue buried? Yeah. So I remember, and we had conversations about it, and people would just ask, oh, so have you had any more showings? Like things, just people coming and going from class.
Yeah.
And that's what I miss. Like I miss that, but at the same time, and I think I might have talked about this on the first podcast, the fact that like the day I lost my job.
Yeah.
I was booked into a class and I came to the class, and it was probably the best decision I had made, because everyone supported me. We joked, and I think in that podcast I said they made fun of me. They did it in a fun way. Like it was not a bad, it was fun. Like it made me feel better about the situation.
Yeah.
And I didn't have, what was I going to go home and be depressed and be upset about it? No, it actually helped me to understand that when you hear other people talk about it and you know what your worth is, it helps. And that made a big difference. But I did think, my first thing was, do I cancel? No.
Yeah.
I need the support of my group.
Right.
I need my family.
And I think that's the key, is that as we get older and, you know, we get busy with our core family, is that we still make time to have our own separate social from our family.
Yes.
Our own separate social from our husband, our own separate social from our wife, from our partner, and our own separate social from our children, so that it's something that's 100% not connected to. Because there are times when you need to share and you need to talk about things that sometimes it's easier to talk to somebody who doesn't know all of that.
Almost impartial. Somebody who's seeing from an outside view.
Right.
They're not connected in any way.
There's no there's no history. You can just share, and maybe you won't even see them next week.
Yeah.
Right? That you can sit and have this conversation, and next week it'll be someone else that's in the room. But at least you had a chance to get it off your chest.
Yeah.
And feel like you're being met with understanding, support, and compassion.
Yeah.
Which is magical.
Yeah, and it's how do you build that again? Do you know what I mean? Like that's where how do we build it up so that we get to that place again? Because like the landscape of things has changed over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
How do we get back to a point where you have a core group again that and like do you do monthly social things? Do you change your classes? Do you like how do you do it? Because everyone is so busy. But how do you make it so that people make time for themselves?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's that whole, when you're a parent, how do you show your children that you have to take time for yourself?
Right.
You know, like you hear about mothers who make their identity their children. Well, what happens when your kids get to the age of our kids?
Yeah.
They don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Yeah.
Like if you continue to make yourself a priority and take care of your mental health and build yourself up, that when your children move on, you still have you.
Right.
But how do we get that? How do we get back there?
Yeah, it takes
right?
a bit of commitment. It takes energy.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't always have the energy. You know, the whole self-care movement started to answer a bit of this, of what we're talking about, that that recognition of that the primary caregiver, whoever that might be, the primary caregiver in a home who takes on that role, it's very easy for them to burn out and to not have the energy for their people because they don't take the time for themselves.
Yeah.
Because when you're in it, it's hard to even think of having time.
Yeah.
But then for like me, it started becoming stressful because you're not taking enough time for yourself. What does self-care look like? Have you done something for yourself? So then on my social media, all these things would be coming up with like suggestions. Here's what you need to be doing. And have you done this? And then this is what I do to take care, and then you're like judging yourself compared to these people. And all of a sudden now it's this overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, I don't have the bandwidth for this. Yeah. And then it almost became like a marketed tool. Term. Like it was like something, self-care, we can make money off of this. So now it's the self-care package, right? Mm-hmm. It's a shame that the social side of it doesn't just come naturally. And I think we may have actually talked about this as I'm about to say it, I'm thinking that we may have said this in an earlier podcast, but that a lot of this, I think, has changed in terms of back in the day, people went to church. Mm-hmm. Church was the community. The neighborhood would be built around the church, and that became your network. Or even just within the neighborhood itself, you knew your neighbors. Yeah. Right? And
like your parent council for the school.
Right. Your kids would play outside and you'd sit on the neighbor's porch. Yeah. And I remember as a kid coming home and searching from house to house for our parents, because we'd come home and the moms would start happy hour in the backyard. I was honestly like, this is another total topic of that old commercial. Do you remember where it was like 10 o'clock or something? Do you know where your children are? So like, it I just feel like we've lost a little bit of that. We have. Like sure. the big joke on social media that I've seen is that, honey, we've got to move. Why? The neighbor just talked to me. Like, yeah. We are so in our own little orbs that we forget how important it is to get outside of that, and we need that interaction. We need that. Even if you aren't an extrovert, even if you aren't, a little bit of that is necessary to help us achieve. What was that? I had the post, I don't know if it's even still up, the hugs. That you need 4 hugs a day to survive. Yeah. You need 8 hugs a day to thrive, and you need 12 hugs in order to exceed and excel, whatever it is. I can't. And it's definitely one of those things. Like before I came, my son actually called me and said, "I am missing hugs. I am feeling depressed because I'm missing connection. I'm missing that hugs." And
broke my heart because he's in Toronto. I can't just jump and be like, hey, I'll give you hugs, right? It's one of those things, and that's exactly it. It's not a thing anymore.
Right.
That's not a thing. Whereas when we were kids, everybody's hugging everybody. Like, nobody cared, right? It's not a thing that kids do these days. They're not touchy-feely.
Is that a business? Is that a thing? Like a rent-a-hug?
A rent-a-hug? I don't know.
Wasn't there a snuggle thing where you could rent
somebody? Oh my God, I remember seeing something about a snuggle. Yes, you could I think I remember something about
that. You could pay them just to come and snuggle you or something like that?
I remember
I'm sure there's probably someone out there that offers hugs.
I'm sure. But that's just, then you get the sketch of the, who's going to do that.
But, I wouldn't.
But it's the missing connection.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people, and he's now an adult.
Yeah.
You're seeing it as kids. People hug kids all the time. Right? But as you get to that certain 21 years old, no one's just coming up. If you don't have a partner, no one's just coming up and hugging you.
Right.
But if you're a huggy person, you need that.
So he just has to start doing that with his teammates. He needs to start.
I can't imagine. Can you imagine a 21-year-old boy walking up to just his teammates? Hey, give me a hug.
Why not?
It's different in dance. Hockey, yes. They hug, they tap, they congratulate. Dancers don't do that.
Maybe
it's not a dancer.
Maybe he could start something. I don't see why not. I don't understand why you wouldn't.
I'll suggest it.
You should. I think you should. And bring out those. I think you should go to a team meeting and bring those stats of
you need hugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, I need a hug.
Yeah, I think so. Why not? It's a team building exercise.
I'll suggest it.
Yeah. Well, so I guess are we doing morals? I think I've done this in another episode where I said the moral of this episode.
I think if we have a moral,
we need hugs. We need social interaction.
Yes.
And we need to make an effort.
Yes.
To make that happen.
Yes. Yeah. So I think I like the idea of having like a Matt and Chat class.
Matt and Chat.
Okay. I'm thinking Matt and Chat.
Okay, I like it.
Matt and Chat.
Say it again. Can you say it 5 more times, please?
Matt and Chat.
Well, thank you all for listening or watching or whatever you did today and joining us. Bye.
Bye.